You're listening to The Financial Outfitter, helping turn dreams into cherished memories. Sponsored by BPG Planning, purpose-based personal financial planning because it's about more than your money.
This is the Financial Outfitter podcast, where our aim is to inspire you to turn your dreams into cherished memories. We believe that the outdoor lifestyle is the remedy to the ailments that plague the human spirit in the modern world. Thanks for tuning in, spending some of your most precious of assets, your time with us today. We are in the den, we are in the studio, and our guest today is a good friend of mine, Globetrotter, current president of the Pittsburgh chapter of Safari Club International, securities attorney extraordinaire, Christopher Gemondo. Long time no see.
Yeah. Several times this week, even.
Couple of hours.
Right.
I don't know about you, but when I think of a midge, I think of this little tiny bug, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that beer that I drank last night was not little tiny. I'm not an IPA guy, but double IPA was strong.
I wasn't sure what it meant.
It was good stuff.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be twice as hoppy before I tried it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, last night, and this is, just something that happened. What was I think it's worth talking about, right? So we're going to go meet with some state leadership for backcountry hunters and anglers at a place in Mars, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
So most people that are from the Pittsburgh area know there's truly a place called Mars.
Mm-hmm.
Little brewery called Stick City.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you out there that are passionate about hunting and fishing, I'm going to encourage you to go there because that's their passion too. And they support what you love. And I think it would be good if we supported them and meeting a few of the guys from backcountry hunters and anglers was good because my experience with them is minimal, but it's been really positive.
Yeah, it seems like there's some overlap there with our goals, certainly organizationally, but it also seems like we have two different audiences, which makes me very hopeful we can form some sort of partnership.
Yeah,
going forward.
So the show, the Financial Outfitter, we have like 3 silos of content,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's what we're aiming for, anyways. One is about adventure, people that have done cool stuff, whether hunting and fishing,
Yeah.
to really hope to inspire other people to do the same thing, or at least take that next step in their sporting journey. The other one is what I call passionate paychecks, people that have taken their passion to, in hunting and fishing or in the sporting life and made it into a career path. And the other one is charity. But so for today, obviously, what I really would like you to share with us is your most recent adventure. Now, I know that 2023 was a big year for you in terms of days abroad. Am I wrong when I think you spent 150 days outside the U.S.?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, I would call that a pretty aggressive, agenda from a travel and hunting schedule point of view. But yeah, it was great. Learned so much about myself through those experiences, and I don't think that 2024 will look anything like that. But,
No.
yeah.
I asked. I like to ask guests like how they came to this stage in their outdoor journey, right? And meaning like I grew up in a hunting family, like 3 generations. It was just what we did, right? Not everyone has that. People come to it differently, right? So, maybe before you kind of share what you did last fall with us, how did you get into the sporting lifestyle?
Yeah, so I would say slowly, just like any kid, I was involved with athletics and baseball, soccer growing up, and um, I did a little bit of fishing with my grandfather, and I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it so much that eventually, when I became at that age where you have to kind of make a decision whether you want to play sports
Mhm.
or not play sports, um, I was like, man, uh, I like to fish. And luckily, I had somebody in my grandfather that was willing to sacrifice his time with his very successful optometry practice, and he was willing to take time away from that to take me fishing, and I had a few uncles growing up. Wasn't necessarily my dad. They take me deer hunting, and so it started small, but humble beginnings for me with
Mhm.
the outdoors, and it wasn't as much as like you were saying, sort of a family. Long family history, but it was more sporadic, and I had to kind of seek it out
Mhm.
with my uncles and my grandfather when as it grew in me.
Mhm.
And yeah, so that's how it started. And then there was a long period of time once I was in college that, it was dormant because I
Mhm.
was focused. I was focused on uh, getting my education completed and then building my business. And it's just really in recent times that I've been able to have the fortunate circumstances to be able to go back to it.
Mhm. So I mean, your most recent, and I'll use it in the true sense of the word, your recent safari, right? Saw you visit 20 countries, probably about 20 countries.
Last year,
Yeah.
yeah.
So so one, there's a few unique things that when I think about your trip. One, the duration, right? How many days was it?
So you can think of it in kind of two separate trips, even. One was in the spring. Um, that was 45 days. Um, sort of New Zealand, Australia, and parts of Southeast Asia. And then the second one was more European,
Hmm.
North Africa, and that one was about 3 months.
Hmm. So so the duration makes it interesting, right? That's a long time to be away.
Yeah.
But the other piece of it is you're alone. You're
Solo
doing it
mission,
by yourself,
100%.
and your
By
schedule.
design, Brian.
Right, right,
You
right,
know?
right. So, and you're also like creating your own itinerary, right?
Absolutely. I think that that's actually a vital piece of it.
Hmm. So, why is the best question, I think. So, what's the motivator to you know take off to parts unknown for you know that long of a period of time?
Yeah. So, I guess the word that comes to mind is, adventure. I'm an adventure seeker. Um, I wouldn't call it, some people you hear the term adrenaline junkie. That's not it. But most of the things that I do, I want to lead a life of adventure. I want to do things that, you know, are my own unique experiences. Why? I enjoy it. Uh, Maybe there's part of me that I don't want to be in a conversation with people here at home and have the same boring thing to add to it as everybody else standing around in the
Yeah,
circle.
right.
You
Yeah.
know? So,
I went golfing this weekend.
oh my, did you? Tell me.
Sorry, I pick on golf.
How
So
can you distinguish one shot from another?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, so actually, where this the most recent trip? Where did you go? Like, where did you start?
So the most recent trip, I flew from here to Spain. Um,
Mm, that's right.
there for about a week.
Mm-hmm.
Um, why did I want to go to Spain? Well, I wanted to go see a bullfight. I wanted to see it where it started, and that was why I spent a week in Spain. It wasn't to see, statues or, you know, any of the stuff that maybe other people go to Spain for. But you know, that had me spending my first few days in Madrid, experiencing that a little bit, and then to Seville for the bullfight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you know, then I think a week and a half, 2 weeks in Morocco, which more cool experiences there. Just you know, uh, exploring the souks and camel rides in the desert. Just you know, again, unique experiences that I want to do, but I think I just have a fear of having the same experience as other people are having.
Mm.
I don't know where that comes from, but yeah. And then kind of back to Europe after that for a whole host of countries and some hunting as
Mhm.
well. Hunting and fishing tends to find its way into my adventures, one way or the other, whether it is the focal point or not. It's always part of the story.
Mm-hmm. And actually, it's a pretty interesting part of the story, right? Unforeseen. So when you shared with me that you were going to Romania to hunt fallow deer, it's something that I've looked at for a number of years, and I thought, could it be that you're actually going to Transylvania?
Mm.
So you were in Transylvania at some point, right?
I was, yeah. So the time I spent in Romania, the first part of it was geared towards hunting. It was the last week of October, about 10 days before the end of October, is when I started hunting, which was aligned with the rut for the fallow deer.
Mm-hmm.
And these were free range animals. And I hunted in western Romania, actually very, very close to the border of Hungary. And that was, 5 days I spent there. And we were after fallow deer and some bird hunting. But, I was on the hunt. I ended up shooting a really nice animal, and my PH, he's like, "Oh, this is the biggest one I've ever seen." I don't know if he's just tell me that for my ego or a
Right.
tip or what it is, but I'm sure, sounds good. It does look,
Yeah.
pretty pretty imposing when I saw the animal,
Yeah.
and but I had nothing to measure it against personally. So um, just last week, he ended up messaging me, and he shared with me that this is a Romanian national record, and I was like, wow,
Yeah.
what news to hear, and certainly that wasn't a plan or any target of mine. But funny enough, what made it kind of extra special was, he shared with me uh, the list of the prior record holders, and here was my name on number one,
Right.
and I looked down the list at number two, the new number two, and it's maybe some of your listeners are familiar with cold Cold War era historical figures, but it's Nicolae Ceausescu, who was former president of Romania,
How about that?
dictator of Romania, and basically a puppet regime of the Russians,
Mm-hmm.
Moscow at the time. So he was actually right after the Berlin Wall fell at the end of the Cold War. The Romanian people, they revolted against this sort of tyranny, and they executed him and his wife. So,
Wow. So you toppled a dictator.
oh, anything I can do. I'm
Anything
still
for the
fighting the
cause.
Cold War over here, right? So yeah,
That's
it was
actually a really cool little side story on the fact that your name appears above his.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And looking down the list, this PH of mine shared the list, and I mean, he wasn't just number one; he was number one, number three, number eight, I mean, this prolific hunter.
Huh.
And I didn't realize this until, I did a little bit of research on him after the fact, and I'm like, yeah, so hundreds and hundreds of animals that this man had,
Yeah.
hunted over his lifetime. So
Well, he certainly had access.
he certainly did. Yeah, yeah, you could say that again.
So what? I'm intrigued by that Eastern Europe hunting culture.
Mm.
So maybe share with us a little bit about, you know, some people go to lodges, some people are staying in tents. But, this is a bit of a different experience. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I would agree. There's like here, you have all flavors of experience, and the culture itself in Eastern Europe, I like it. I mean, from what I experienced, it seems like they have a sense. The people have a sense of self-reliance about them that is very um, consistent. I think they went through some really hard times
Mm-hmm.
with the Cold War experience in all those countries. Um, Hungary, Poland, Bulgaria, a lot of them that were in that sphere. And Romania is no different. And it has left the people with this sense of, um, I guess, self reliance is the best way I can put it. They all have gardens, they all know how to butcher an animal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Things that get lost in our culture
Yeah.
here. And, you know, I have an affinity for, I guess, people who are self reliant. Those are the type of people I like to align myself with. And so, yeah, that carries through. And they have continued to pay homage to their hunting heritage. All the Eastern European countries seem to have uh, that theme
Mm-hmm.
that's common with them. Um, and the Romanians, yeah, I like all my experiences that I found there, whether it's self reliance or the hunting culture.
Yeah, it's high on my list. It's definitely something that I want to experience. And,
Great.
and I would be lying if I said I wouldn't. I also would like to go to Transylvania.
Yeah.
So, were you not there like on Halloween, or
So,
what?
right. I had my hunting experience in the western part, as I was saying, and then after the hunt, I I ended up flying to um, Bucharest, the capital, which was, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half flight, something along those lines, from the regional city of Timișoara. I think Timișoara might be the second most populous city in Romania. So I flew from there to Bucharest, and I was like, man, it's Halloween, it's getting close. I got to go and see how my buddy Dracula's doing. I mean, it's tis the season, right?
Right.
So, did some exploring of Bucharest or whatever, see the sights quickly, and then I went up to a city called Brasov, which is the heart of Transylvania, and all the Dracula, the castle, and the whole nine is right there in this town of Brasov, and yeah, cool experience. But I was there maybe a day or two before Halloween,
Mm-hmm.
and the guide's like, "You timed it just right. You show up here on Halloween, it's nuts. You're waiting in hour long lines. The whole place is
Gotcha. Yeah.
a costume party or whatever they got going on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, great experience, and I try to clearly when I'm planning out a trip, I plan. I try not to overplan, but I'm sensitive timing wise. Sensitive to the rut when I'm hunting.
Right.
Can I time? Dracula's castle in and around Halloween, man, sure. And you build your.
And yeah, actually, that was going to be kind of my next question is like how much of this are you formatting ahead of time, and how much of it are you making up on the fly?
So for a long trip or adventure, let's just take the one the Europe and North Africa trip. I think it's important to plan parts of it where there will be a lot of movement between places close together, because you gotta know what you're doing for short durations. But I think it's equally important to plan some of your trip as unplanned, so you can rest, and so you can have some spontaneity and genuine interaction with people. If that, I think that's for me actually a goal, um, and build in some downtime. And whatever happens, where it gives you the flexibility for maybe a side trip that might present itself, and you can't even, you can't plan for something like that.
Well, and that's kind of what happened, right?
It is exactly what happened with while I was in Romania hunting. There were some other hunters there, and these guys were from Norway, and I got along well with them. We spent the evenings together, shared a few laughs, shared a few drinks, and you know, it, they ended up extending me an invitation, open ended. Come up to you know Norway and spend some time with us. Just I guess we got along really well, and I don't think that they were expecting me to take them up on it. But they did understand that I had, time that I wasn't going to be going home. I would be, I spent a lot of time in Italy, about 2 months there, in the back part of my trip, and so I had that flexibility to be able to take them up on the invitation.
So, what did you do with them? Norway. So, what are you doing in Norway?
So, again, I was talking with some folks that we had a common interest. Primary common interest was hunting. And, that was part of the plan before I went. And he said, you come up here to my property, and we live a life of, a lot of our life revolves around the outdoors and hunting. This man, Casper was his name, good buddy of mine. How you doing, Casper? He owns a farm, a spectacular place. He has agricultural operations, and just so much history with that property. I mean, I think he told me the ownership in his family goes back. He didn't tell me a year, but he said it predates the bubonic plague.
Oh, yeah.
So we're talking.
I'm not a historian, but
1300s.
yeah,
late 1300s.
Wow.
So almost a 1,000 years of ownership, 800, whatever it is, and all the cool stuff that goes with that.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about tied to the land. You want to talk about a hunter and yet a steward and a conservationist. I mean, you can't. There's nobody in these United States that's owned land that long.
Right.
They've only had the opportunity to own it, 250.
Yeah, right.
So, and just an awesome experience. I mean, his wife was just a spectacular hostess. Cooked 3 meals a day for me. Took orders. If I wanted it. Just we ate moose meat. They really rolled out the red carpet for me, and I mean, just the ability to have an experience like that was incredible.
Yeah. So one of the most interesting things with the travel and the hunting is the people. Not only that you're meeting, locally, but the fact that activity is pulling people from all parts of the world, and you're meeting people that you just would not otherwise meet. And you can build these relationships that you're not otherwise going to build, and that's a perfect example of that.
It's one thing when you schedule a hunting trip and you pay for somebody's services. You're establishing a relationship based on commerce, and as opposed to the relationship I established with Casper, which was completely organic, unscripted, and it just evolved naturally. And I've got a friend. Yeah, an outfitter can become your friend,
Mm-hmm.
but there's money changing hands. When I got to Casper's, he he drove an hour from his farm to pick me up at the airport in Oslo. Drove the hour back. When we got to his property, he said, "Here's the keys to a truck. There's a rifle and a shotgun in the back of the truck. All the ammunition you need. Go ahead, shoot anything you want on my property. You kill a moose, give me a call. We'll come help you skin it." I mean,
Wow.
you know, who says that?
That's not happening in too many places in the United States, that's for sure.
I knew this man for 3 days, 3
Right.
evenings.
Right.
That's it. Spectacular host, spectacular friend now.
Yeah. I mean, the strength of the affinity in the hunting community um, it can surprise you. And what I've said multiple times, and very specifically, is that for those people that pursue the lifestyle, it's not a game. We refer to it as the sporting lifestyle, and we use this term sport, but that's used in a generic sense, because most sports are manufactured.
Mm-hmm.
We made up the rules. You went out of bounds.
Sure.
Whatever it is. Hunting may be seen as a sport, but the skills and the values that people that pursue that lifestyle develop transcend the activity. And, it's that shared sense of values that probably allowed him to just say, here's the keys. Because you're not doing that with people in general population. Here's the keys. I've known you for 3 days. Oh, and by the way, here are 2 guns and some ammunition. Can you imagine the outrage?
Well, and here's a room,
Yeah, here's
a
a room.
bedroom in my home, and oh, by the way, my wife Annika, just tell her, whatever you'd like to eat, she'll prepare for you. She wants you to try all of our Norwegian delicacies before you leave.
Wow.
You need some hunting clothes? Here, my son's in the Norwegian Special Forces. You look about his size. He's got all the gear.
Wow. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Tailor made.
Unbelievable.
That's incredible. So, one of the things that has to be crossing folks' mind that's listening is like, okay, you did this, you're over there for all this period of time, you had all these great experiences. How can people walk away from their life back home and do something like that, right? Partly because they're stuck in a paradigm, but there are some practical aspects of this that are very real. So how do you prepare for that?
So, actually, that was part of the thinking and the reasoning behind wanting to push myself to take some of these adventures and push the timeline. I wanted to try to see if I was capable of running my businesses and servicing my clients while being away, because I knew that would ultimately equate to a higher sense of freedom as my life goes on and as my career goes on. And so I tried to start taking some steps to weatherproof whatever my properties here at home, and start to plan how I could service my clients while I'm on the move. And if I was successfully able to learn that skill, well, how much more freedom would I have than if I didn't learn it?
Mm-hmm.
I can travel, and still not lose ground financially. So that wasn't possible in a former life when I had my offices and my employees and all the things that, kind of come with it, the traditional way of running a business.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had to construct my business on a go forward basis to maximize the freedom that I want. And so part of this was very conscious,
Mm-hmm.
and challenging myself to do these things.
So, what did you find being as your biggest challenge?
So I would have to say the challenge that comes from being in remote places or um, I guess on the other side of the world is really if you have a service-based business, um, your timing is going to be different than the timing of your clients here. So, if, depending on your communication frequency with your clients, I mean, I have clients that I talk to, 3, 4 times a week. Um, you might have to get up at a strange hour for a call or a Zoom, or and you as a service provider are the one that's going to be taking a late call or an early call.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to ask them to.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I wanted to be able to, troubleshoot too during this process. I'm going to learn some things that I can't plan for. I'm going to have to overcome and adapt and fight to problem solve in ways that I couldn't expect. Right? Something comes up at a rental property. A problem comes up with one of my law firm clients. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't plan it all ahead.
Right. Exactly.
So,
would you say you did learn some things that would enable you to do it again with maybe less stress, less hassle,
my
less concern?
confidence, yeah, my confidence to be able to do this really indefinitely, I think is in place now.
Mm.
And I think that not just servicing clients, not just servicing tenants, but doing so at a high level, no sacrifice on their part. That was my goal. And yeah, I mean, my confidence level is strong
Mm-hmm.
that that's the case.
Yeah.
So, achieved objective.
Yeah. Good. What I have found is that when I intentionally put like a challenge in front of me, something that I've never done before, um, that I want, it inspires me to want to do it again.
Mhm.
And I feel that there's a level of sometimes significant, but at a minimum, an incremental change in how I see myself and how I see the world. Would you, what have you found personally from traveling like at that extent?
I mean, you learn something about the culture. You have a lot of data points to compare it with the one that you live in. Um, and I find that it's very easy to identify with other people and carry on a conversation with them if you have um, some experience or direct knowledge about where they come from. I'll just give you a short example. Just this week, I was looking at a rental property uh, to add to my uh, portfolio, and the agent, I could sense and I can't pick out, the different countries in Eastern Europe based on ear, but I knew she was probably somewhere in Eastern Europe, and I said, where are you from? And she said, Romania. So how about that? And specifically, Timișoara,
Oh, how about that?
which was the regional city that I mentioned earlier. That's where I flew into.
Mhm.
And no, she had left. She had been here since she was 6, but yet she still had an accent.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about common ground.
Yeah.
Instant connection.
Mm-hmm.
And how does that equate to maybe getting that deal favorably?
Yeah. Right.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
sure.
Absolutely.
So yeah, those are the sort of things I learned, and that there's good you find in every place.
I'm personally, I would consider myself relatively new to Safari Club International. I mean, I should know, but maybe I've been a member for 4 years at the most, right? And how I used to think about it, how I think about it now, has certainly evolved with my exposure. And, I know you've been involved for a period of time. How did that happen for you? Like, how did you get involved initially?
Yeah, so I attended my first banquet or gala 2017, 2016, 2017. And yeah, just finally started to be able to have enough time to step away from my business to just, you know,
Mm-hmm.
do something like that, or I allowed myself to finally do something like that. And yeah, I guess I got involved or I wanted to attend that because I thought I might find some people there that liked to do what I also like to do. Or, I hadn't done a whole lot of it at that point, but that would be the place where I would find other adventure seekers, people with good stories to tell, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, it took time. Once I went to one of those and I went to two of those, I met a few people. No deep relationships were formed. You're having a 3 or 4 hour dinner with
Yeah.
somebody. And, then in 2019, I got the opportunity to get involved. I had been contacted by one of the board members that had become an acquaintance and said, "Do you have any interest in looking at a leadership role?" And it's like, "Well, what does that look like? What does that look like on time?" And so I slowly got involved, with the board and then ultimately leadership roles uh, within the board, and it's been great.
I mean, I know personally that you've invested a ton of time, and you're currently the chapter president. Um, how do you see, you know, the organization like influencing what it is that you do from a travel standpoint, or maybe it doesn't. Maybe you just use it as a resource, but you've kind of served a term as president. Will you continue to stay engaged? What's it look like moving forward?
So I think yeah, I spend and have spent quite a lot of time um, in trying to advance the objectives of our chapter,
Hmm.
um, and uh, you know it becomes something sort of a labor of love, and you know everybody treats that role differently, depending on their views and the time they have to give to it.
Hmm.
It's been a priority for me, and yeah, my term is going to be coming up here pretty soon. But I think as far as the organization goes, I want to stay involved. I want to be supportive of uh, who's coming behind me, and I think that's what will make a strong organization. I mean, I'm not just going to be, you know, finishing and then looking for the exit, right? So um, that's something that I'm committed to do, and I'll still serve, with committees and
Hmm.
chair appointments to the degree that I can help, and then my help's wanted. Happy to do it.
Hmm.
So yeah.
So maybe I'm backtracking a little bit, but um, you said that hunting when you were growing up really wasn't a family thing, right? You did some hunting with your family, dormant during college. I think
Sure.
actually that's where the community loses a lot of participants,
Yeah.
during that period. So the fact that you came back to it and are, avid, um, there has to be some driving force there. So what does, going hunting or hunting mean to you?
It means a lot of things, but it's adventure. It's the big umbrella is adventure for me, and that manifests through hunting. That manifests through travel. Um, Hunting is going to take me to places that traveling never will. And traveling in the retail or traditional sense of it.
Mhm.
People aren't traveling to Namibia for the sights. right?
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, but hunting, of course, for me, I don't think that there's any better way to connect with our natural world than hunting. People, some people take walks in the park. Some people bird watch. I mean, some people might say golf gets them connected. I don't know, but I don't think that you can get closer to nature than when you're hunting. And that's why I believe that hunters, and this is something I came to understand with time with Safari Club, and that's that there's no bigger conservationists than hunters. And that's sort of a statement that you might not understand without, peeling back one layer of the onion
Mm-hmm.
on what I just said.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. One, I have a saying, don't swallow the soundbite, which is unless you're willing to explore it honestly and deeper than the first layer of the onion, it's something that if you're not really in that community, you're not going to really fully understand. And then the other piece of it, I would totally agree. And the way I look at it is there's a lot of ways to get outside. And they offer you a spectator's perspective. But as a hunter, you're a participant. And that takes engagement to a completely different level, right? And there's an innate aspect of that goes a lot deeper than maybe you can cover in a podcast. But yeah, it is it's not just a great way to connect. It provides a perspective that you can't get by just checking stuff out through a pair of binoculars.
Yeah, and that's a message that I'd love to share with more people, but it's not something that you can explain while you're riding down an elevator with somebody.
No, not unless you want to feed them a soundbite.
Exactly. So, but yeah, it's been a great experience with Safari Club. I've made some of my strongest relationships and friendships through it, and it's a big part of my life, and I value it greatly.
So we're closing in on last light at the den, and I really kind of want to finish with giving you the opportunity really to share with our listeners a little bit about your business. Like what do you do professionally? What is it? What engine is it that makes all of these great adventures possible?
So yeah, I'm an attorney, and my focus is in the securities realm. I focus on private placements, capital raising for different businesses, startups, and mature businesses. Um, I represent sell side, you know, uh, management and fund managers creating basically private securities. As well, I represent the buy side and the investors, and uh, basically idea or investment validation for the same thing, private placement opportunities.
So that's covering a lot of space. So a listener might say, "Well, geez, I don't know a whole lot about that, right? Because it's not common language." So what would be the best way for folks to get in touch with you or learn more about what it is that you do?
Yeah, sure. So I have a website. It is pretty simple. It's my last name and law.com. So
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. And speaking of getting in touch with people, we want people to get in touch with us. That is the Financial Outfitter. So all of the stuff that you do on social media, like, follow, all those interesting things, we want you to do that. And remember that when you subscribe to the podcast, you are becoming a member of the pack, not the herd.
Our mission is to promote new connections in the sporting community by bringing awareness to opportunities and issues that impact our lifestyle, challenge members to think critically about their role in the modern world, and help others to turn dreams into cherished memories. This episode is sponsored by BPG Planning, purpose-based personal financial planning because it's about more than your money.